Hey there, I've lived here for 28 years. I've been a realtor for 23 years. And I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of living in the Denver metro area. So let's get started. We're going to start with the cons because it's a shorter list. So it's important to be prepared. The weather in November 1st to through April is when you want to winterize. Around November 1st is when you winterize your cars, your sprinkler systems, unplug your hoses, because you never know what's going to happen. But it's about Halloween or November 1st till through April, because we get some snow and get some wet snows in April. So one thing to know is that you can just pretty much forget about having a clean car from November 1st through April. There might be some real pretty days where you can go and run it through a car wash if it's warm enough, but just you're not going to have a real spiffy looking car from that period of time. And so it's going to be wet and snowy. You'll need all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive or even just front-wheel drive, because they do have plows and they do a pretty good job of that. So you don't have to have four-wheel drive, but we do, and it makes it just so much more comfortable to know that you've got all-wheel drive, and you're just going to have to be careful and slow down a little bit. Also in the summertime, you are a mile closer to the sun, so you're going to have oxidation. So it can oxidize your car. If you have awnings or things you leave outside, they can get oxidized and get kind of burned because you are a mile high closer to the sun. Also, because of that, we're going to have dry skin. So they say ocean lotion Colorado cream. So you want to put cream on to help moisturize your skin. Sometimes in the wintertime too, we'll have a humidifier going on because it's so dry. And when you have the heat on in the house, especially if you have gas forced air, it's going to be dry. So lotion, cream, humidifier. I have several guitars, and so we have to have a humidifier for those anyway. So we're going to also look at the type of snow that we have. In the wintertime, when it's really, really cold, it's a dry cold. And it's a dry snow. Literally, you can have like 6 inches or so of snow on your deck railing or whatever, and you can just blow it off, and it's just that dry. But later on, in the snowy season, like March and April, it's a wet snow, and it's the kind of snow that breaks tree limbs. It's kind of wet and a little bit slushier and harder to deal with. So that's probably it for the snow and the weather kind of a thing. I'll talk a little bit more about the weather and the 300 days of sunshine and stuff like that in the pros section. But just in case you're from somewhere where it doesn't ever get cold or you never see snow, just know that from November 1st till through April, you're going to have a possibility of snow and cold and wet. So the soil, okay? There is a type of soil called bentonite, and it's an expansive swelling soil that when it gets wet, it expands. And so it's kind of like layers of a cake. So if you think of a cake and you got these layers, and you turn those layers on their side, that's basically red rocks. So you're going to see that diagonal layers. Well, if one of those layers is bentonite, that's why that area might expand and buckle driveways and affect the foundations of houses. And houses on the other side of it, on either side, may not be affected. That's because those layers are like this, and it's mainly from the west of the Platte. So from the Platte towards the west is where you're going to see that mainly. But I'll help you with that because I know I've talked to several soil engineers. I've been a realtor here for 23 years, and I know where the areas are that you have to watch out for bentonite. So just something that you need to know. Traffic, okay? 250 people a year are moving here from California, Oregon, Washington, New York, and consequently accidents have gone up 30%. Some of that is because of marijuana. So since they've legalized marijuana, traffic accidents have gone up too. Because people are not only driving and texting, but they're driving and texting, and they're just a little high, possibly. So, and that comes from some police people that I know and some information I know regarding that. So there's angry drivers, and you see that in a lot of big cities. Some of it's people that are impatient, that are moving here from New York and California and places where they think it's going to be totally different here, and there's a lot of traffic. So some of it, the angry drivers, are new, and some of them are locals who resent all the extra traffic. So between those two, and for whatever reason, it seems like up north in Westminster, Arvada, Thornton area, because I show properties all over. We live in Littleton, just south of the Denver area. But it just seems like there's more anger and road rage up north for whatever reason. So wanted to let you know about that. Crime, okay? The crime has gone up 36% in the Denver metro area from 2020 until now. 36% burglary and 25% increase in vandalism. Downtown Denver has a popular vibe and great lofts and properties there, and people love the walkability and the nightlife and the stuff going on in Denver, but it's gotten kind of grungy. So we used to say, oh, let's get on the light rail, which we'll talk about in the pros, so that's a great thing. Let's get on the light rail, go up to downtown Denver, get off at 16th Street Mall, and take the free shuttle, goes all up and down there. Well, now you see all the cool shops and the graffiti and the litter and the cigarette butts and there's homeless camps. They're kind of getting dissipated a little bit now, but there are still quite a few of those. There's a pretty big homeless population here in Colorado. It's beautiful here in the summertime. Wintertime, they're either going to the indoor camps or they're going somewhere else because it gets super cold here to be living in a tent. So, we touched on it for just a second, but something just to know is that you may love marijuana. You may think it's hip and cool and you dig the fact that it's legal here, but you do smell that skunky weed, especially downtown, but a lot of places you go, you're going to smell that weed. And one time I saw a car that looked like it was on fire. I thought, man, I need to stop and help these people, right? Bellowing smoke out the windows. Well, I don't know if you've seen Cheech and Chong up in smoke, but that's kind of what the situation was. The car was not on fire. They were just passing a bong around while driving. So you got to be careful with that. I ride a motorcycle, and I love riding motorcycles, but you got to watch your tail because people are going to run into you if they're not paying attention. So if you ride a motorcycle, look for those little escape routes when you come to a stop sign, because somebody behind you may not know that you're stopped. And so another thing that's a negative is long lines. So if you are heading up I-70 to go skiing in the wintertime, or snowmobiling or snowshoeing and all the cool things that there are to do up there, be prepared for long lines. I always tell people, have food, have something to drink, and have a full tank of gas, because you're going to be in your car for a while. So long lines. Camping, if you want to go camping, you got to book it in advance, because everybody and their dog literally is moving to Colorado because they hear about the beautiful pristine alpine lakes and the trails and the rivers and deckers for fishing and all kinds of great places. But there's a lot of people, so just be prepared. You can get on the National Forest websites too and make reservations, but don't just think you can say, hey honey, let's go up to the mountains day after tomorrow, because it's not going to happen. So that's those are the negative things, and this is not a negative note, but with regard to politics, like most cities, Denver is a real liberal blue area. Same as with Boulder, and you see pretty much of a diverse group of people. But as you go further south, We're talking Highlands Ranch, Lone Tree, Parker, Castle Rock, very conservative. So I'm from Oklahoma originally. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But if you're looking at a place that's more conservative, south of town. More liberal in Denver, north of Denver, and out east. Out west from there too, like into Boulder area. So, but it feels like Texas when you're in Parker, Castle Rock. You keep going south, actually, and you get into Colorado Springs. That's where Focus on the Family is, and there's the Air Force Academy. So you got a real strong military and a real strong faith-based community there as well. So that's about it for the negatives. Okay, now for the reasons we love Colorado and the reasons that we've been here for 20 plus years. So we're going to get right to it. One of the cons was weather. Well, a pro is weather because we have 300 days of sunshine a year here. Blue skies, sunshine, believe it or not, 300 days. We can get a big blizzardy snow, and it's all beautiful and white. Blankets of snow just everywhere, and then the sun comes out the next day, blue skies, and it helps melt that snow, and then there's snow plows. So it's not humid, okay? We have a real dry climate here. So I remember moving here from Oklahoma, and people said that you're going to freeze your tail off. And I'm like, it's dry, so you don't really feel that cold. We see people with shorts and a sleeveless parka out shoveling snow sometimes. So the summers are beautiful, 70 to 80 degrees, sometimes 90, almost 100, but it's dry. So sun goes down, you get into a shady area, and it's cool. I mean, it can be 95 to 100 degrees during the day, and at night it cools way off, and it's just beautiful. So we love the summers here. That's one thing that we really love. And as far as bugs are concerned, I mean, we've been watching other videos of other places where they have a lot of bugs. Here, not many. We have some bees, yellow jackets, spiders, but there's no chiggers. You can actually go for a picnic and sit out in the grass with no blanket, and you're not going to have anything crawling on you. Okay, there's no chiggers here. Very few. I don't want to say there's no fleas because I think they're coming from other places, but fleas are just not a problem here because they can't live through the winters. So your dogs will like that. We have 4 seasons here, which is another nice thing, but the fall and spring is pretty short, but nice. Beautiful aspens. You can see these beautiful aspens trees, and where Cindy and I would go up to Guanella Pass and from Georgetown and other places. There's some beautiful places here. So we love that. The 4 seasons, fall and the spring are kind of short-lived, but they're beautiful. We'll have big snows, but like I said, the sun comes out, and if you just do a halfway job of just getting some of the snow off of your driveway, the sun does the rest. I remember when I first moved here, I thought I had to get every little inch of snow and ice off the sidewalks and the driveway, but nope. The sun, we're a mile closer to the sun. You got to remember that. So that's a good thing. Outdoor fun. Wow. Camping, hiking, rafting, fishing. There's beautiful lakes. We love to go up to Wellington Lake, up to 85. It's just 45 minutes away. And you think that you're in a beautiful paradise with mountains and little waterfalls and streams and stuff. But like I said in the cons, you got to book things in advance. So very dog friendly. We have 2 golden retrievers, and which is kind of the Colorado state dog I kind of joke about. But you see dogs everywhere, dog parks, and it's a very dog friendly place. Colorado is. Concerts. Oh, Red Rocks Amphitheater. It's a beautiful natural amphitheater with those, those bookends almost, like I was telling you about on either side. And I've seen Jackson Browne, James Taylor, Dan Fogelberg, all kinds of people there. Great bands. It's a great place. Fiddler's Green is another place, but these are both mostly outdoor venues. Wintertime, you're going to be going to concerts at the Pepsi Center and places like that. So great concerts. We are a sports town. The Broncos, the Rockies, the Avalanche, the Nuggets, CU, CSU, and Air Force also. This is a big sports town, and all the restaurants, not all, but most of the restaurants and sports bars just have wall-to-wall TVs because somebody's always watching something. Food. There are great restaurants around the metro area. It is very multicultural. There's breweries everywhere, not just Coors and Budweiser, which are here, but there's a lot of microbreweries here. And great food, great restaurants all over. Denver is a very diverse but somewhat segregated area. There are Asian communities, Hispanic communities. I can't tell you where those areas are because of fair housing laws prohibit steering, so I don't want to steer anybody the wrong way. But you could just Google Asian restaurants or Mexican food, and then you can just kind of see by the concentration of restaurants where those communities are. So that's the safe way for me to tell you. So like I said, you can Google the restaurants and then look at the map. But I think the communities are great and offer comfort to those who want to be around others who speak the same language, and there's a camaraderie there. So I think that's a good thing. We have a strong real estate market here. Even in 2008, things flattened out a little bit, but it's not been a place where it will peak and then crash, peak and then crash. Here it's more of a stairway, more of a stair step. The equity will go up and it'll flatten out, and it'll go up and flatten out. And so right now we have very low inventory. The inventory is down 45%. That inventory means the amount of homes available on the market. It's down 45% from last year. And prices are up 11%. So the equity here has always been around that amount of equity increase. And the average price right now is about $650,000. Less in some areas, more in some areas. So that's a great thing if you're going to buy a home here, because you're going to see the equity go up. Okay, so let's talk for a second about utilities. You would think that the utilities would be really high in Colorado, especially in the wintertime to heat your home. But the summers are not bad at all. AC is really only used here 1 or 2 months of the year because it's so dry here. And a lot of people have evap coolers or swamp coolers, and they work really well because it just helps moisten the air a little bit because it is so dry here. So especially if you have guitars or nice furniture and you want to have a little bit of moisture in the house, an evap cooler is not a bad way to go. So it really helps a lot. We live in a 2,800 square foot modest home here in Littleton, and we almost never spend more than $225 a month for utilities. So we're pretty happy about that. Sales tax, well, they vary from zip code to zip code. So we live in 80120, and our sales tax here is 5%, which is like the lowest in the area. But it goes from 5% to 9% depending on what zip code you're in. And then infrastructure, that is a good thing for here. We have, good bridges, good roads. They're always widening the roads, working on things to make things easier for people to get around. So light rail is great. Like I mentioned before, it's the only way, in my opinion, to go to downtown, because it's just so hard to get around downtown and to find a place to park, and it's expensive when you do find a place. When you can just take the light rail from several places, going up north to the downtown area. Now it even goes to DIA, Denver International Airport. So that's a great thing. The entrance to that light rail to our city is great. And with the exception of downtown and the tech center, those are exceptions. Denver is a real easy city. The whole metro area is really easy to get around because it's a grid, and so it's really nice. You've got Broadway goes north and south, and everything on one side is east, and the addresses will be the east part of town, and then the other side is west. So Broadway goes north and south, but it divides the city east and west. Alameda is the street that everybody knows that divides the city north and south. Alameda goes east and west, but if you're north of Alameda, you're in the north. Like if you're on Wadsworth, for example, you'll be, whatever 100 block north versus south, because Alameda divides the city. So you got Broadway, east and west. Alameda divides north and south, and then you got your mountains to the west. And like I said, we have 300 days of sunshine a year, so it's pretty easy to get around. So there are the pros and the cons. Honest information from someone who's lived here and been a realtor here for 23 years. So hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be spotlighting some cities, suburbs, and walk you around some areas as well. So please hit the subscribe button. It'll help us out a little bit. And the like button would be good. And then any comments that you guys might have. So thank you so much for watching, and have a good one. So even though the market outside is frightful, we make it more delightful. You need to know where to go. Let us know, let us know, let us know.